and then it turned green. All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Village of Broadview's Public and Private Sector EV Forum. My name is Winton Jones, Director of Sustainability for Urban Efficiency Group. Happily representing Darnell Johnson and our team, also working on with the Village of Broadview. We'll actually bring up Mayor Katrina Thompson to share some opening and welcoming remarks. So Mayor Thompson, you want to come on up?
Good morning and happy Saturday, everyone. So thank you all for those that's in attendance and those that's watching virtually. We are really excited in Broadview about the EV and what it brings to the environment as it relates to how we look at sustaining in the future. And so we have went through our course of the EV charging training and all of the things and put all of the codes and ordinances in place that's required. And I'm happy to announce that we are a bronze level EV charging community. And so that's exciting. So I want to acknowledge our trustee Lakeisha Wimper, who's here, and then another trustee from the Village of Westchester, Terrence Jones, and our library trustee, Willie Atkins. And so just having conversations like with our other local partners like the Broadview Park District, the library, and the school districts, it's important that we have these, real conversations on what that look like for the future, because just because we live here, we have people that work here. And if they're driving electric vehicles, we want to make sure that we can accommodate the need as we go into the future. So I'm really excited about the conversation that's taking place today. Thank you, Winton and Urban Efficiency Group, for always putting these things together. And as we move forward, it's very important that we stay connected to our public and our private sector, because that's when transformation really takes place, when we can have these true transformational partnerships moving forward. So I'm excited about what Broadview is doing and our region, Proviso Township and the Chicagoland region, on how we move forward together. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Mayor Thompson. It's truly a privilege and an honor to work with the Village of Broadview. So many committed trustees, business owners, the village staff. I'm actually going to bring up Director Matthew Ames to come shed some light on the development process in Broadview, speaking towards the EV cohort, and then just the projects that we have. But we could not and would not be able to do much without the public works, the building commissioners team, the fire department, the police department, Miss Lily, Miss Jones, all the unnamed stars and wonderful people who continue to push sustainability and equity for our people. I just want to recognize you all because, again, you all are leading this work for community and regional-led efforts. So, Director Ames, you want to come up and just share a few words to shed light on the development going on 14th Ave, but also how we're strategically coordinating these things amongst all the other efforts we're doing with C4 as well.
Thank you, Wynn. Good morning, everyone. Reiterating what the mayor said, happy to announce that through the Mayor's Caucus and being part of the third cohort, that organization actually really walked us through getting EV ready. So by way of informational sessions and also homework programming assignments from zoning amendments to actually creating EV ordinance that defines construction, inspections, permitting, installs, aesthetics, and the whole 9 yards. So, yeah, they were very, very helpful in helping the village move forward with that. Right now, the village has 2 lots, 14th Avenue and Roosevelt Road, and 18th Avenue and Roosevelt Road, that are slated to be electrified before the end of 2025. And we've got a good man, Luke Burrow, here from ComEd, and he's been a great resource in helping us identify ICC contractors that are capable to perform this type of work, which is very, very important. So we are working with one vendor for the electrification, 14th Avenue, and I didn't realize how costly these projects can be, all right? And receiving the different quotes, we get quotes anywhere from $350,000 to north of $400,000. The good news is, and Luke can attest to this, that ComEd provides a great rebate for qualified participants. And the village's out-of-pocket cost for at least the 14th Avenue will be for the purchase of the chargers themselves, which is approximately $60,000. And we were fortunate to have allocation from a state grant set aside for that purchase. So, so we are trying to expedite, if nothing else, the electrification of that. The second location at 18th and Roosevelt Road was actually through Cook County. Cook County identified us as a community that they wanted to work with a couple years ago to provide the same infrastructure. One will be a level 3. That's obviously the one at 14th, and then a level 2 charger, a dual port that Cook County has committed to installing. I think they're both going to be blanks. This is the from our research and vetting process, this is the type of charger that we want to install. We know that the growth capacity and the connectivity is established, so we're happy about that. So unless there's anything more specific, Winton, that you'd like me to communicate, that's where we are in the process. So,
That's perfect.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
All right, thank you. Call the mayor's office. 708-681-3600, and they'll direct all inquiries to the proper departments.
Quick question. Both locations will have 2 stations at each location or more?
No, actually, the location at 14th, the level 3s, that's 4 ports. Okay, so we'll have 2 dual port chargers there, and Cook County is committed to just providing 2 ports, right? So a dual port level 2 at the 18th and Roosevelt Road location. Okay? All right.
Thank you, Director Ames. See a lot of value in understanding what the village is doing. So us at the local level, folks at the commercial and industrial level can all try to pair up with the infrastructure that's being developed. You know, we need to be very strategic in these next coming years with the current political climate, but also just understanding this is a emergent technology. Like other emerging technologies, we want to be at the forefront of everything that's being developed, and we see Broadview has the track record to kind of lead and run that race. A few things that I did not mention here, just want to always provide references that this work has started, but we need to continue to drive it forward. Along with everything that you see up here, we are also doing a Broadview energy plan where we're building out the energy infrastructure for the whole village. So electric vehicle charging stations are part of that conversation. We need to be well equipped and knowledgeable about that to make the best informed decisions. Then we're also running a summer workforce development program between Broadview and Bellwood, introducing students to energy efficiency and sustainability professions. So I'll talk more about that as we move forward, but also want to tee up our keynote speaker for today, President of Space Continuum, leader of the EV infrastructure, Joshua Johnson. He's a nationally recognized voice in electric vehicle infrastructure, sustainable city design, and inclusive innovation. As president of Space Continuum, the largest Black-owned interiors and technology firm in the Midwest, Joshua is the driving and the deployment of EV charging networks in municipalities, school districts, and commercial sectors. With all of that, he's still going to work with us to focus on general and residential development so that, you know, there's no one lost in the sauce, so to speak. Thank you, Joshua, and without further ado, I'll turn it over.
Good morning, everybody. How you guys doing this morning? First and foremost, I want to thank the Village and Urban Efficiency and Sustainability inviting me out today. And we're going to kind of keep this conversation very intimate. By a show of hands, who has an car, electric car, vehicle? Okay, one person. Who's rode an electric vehicle? Okay, perfect. So you guys have already started a lot of projects in the whole EV space. I kind of structured this as far as an informational keynote speaking and not really get into technical difficulties of the technology behind it. I'm gonna kind of show you the evolution of electric vehicles is where it's going. So about my company, my father's actually chairman. He started this company back in 2016. While I was in college, my story was I had a marketing firm and I got into the music industry. By being in the music industry, I did a lot of marketing for a lot of high-level artists. I'm not going to name drop here. But by being in the music industry, when the technology boom came from Apple apps, Silicon Valley technology companies reached out to me to bridge the gap and structure strategic partnerships from celebrities to their tech companies. So I became an equity partner in a number of companies. We actually sold a number of those companies to Facebook. And just by being in the tech space, I was exposed to so many different opportunities. I like to say I was a fly on the wall, okay? There's not many of us in those type of rooms. And when I started getting all this information about where different industries come, like Darnell says, we're kind of like late to the party. So I want to be first at the party of new innovating technology. So my father asked me to come back home. I said, sure. Commercial interior design, furniture is sexy, but it's not as sexy technology. And because we do a number of clients nationwide, I want to also not do office furniture, but also give people the opportunity to new innovative technologies, especially in Chicago public school systems. So that was also my passion, to expose people to do new different technologies from overseas. But of course, we see this stuff on the internet, but 9, 10 times it's not tangible to touch. And that was my job, to expose people. Over the years, we had national recognition. Some of the recent articles have been done on us. We kind of keep a low profile, but a lot of people have kind of been figuring us out who we are and want to do more stories back on our journey. So we've been featured in Ebony Magazine and also Black Enterprise. Here's some of our recent projects that we've done over the years. Chase Towers to the Metro Corporate Office, from Bill, Chicago, which is kind of close to here on the west side. Also the Memphis International Airport, and we had a long-standing contract with Chicago Public Schools for the last 15 years. So why electric vehicles? It's a very interesting topic because there's so much stuff on social media, there's news articles, and there's all this, a lot of propaganda, but information just flowing around, what's real, what's not, right? Some of the main things that is important to electric vehicles is the low operating and maintenance costs. I have a car, it's a Mercedes-Benz. I just took it to the Mercedes thing, my bill was $800. Well, electric vehicle, that constantly decreased because I don't need oil changes, all different type of maintenance stuff, that decreases. That's gonna help out the public and the future spenders when they're actually buying these vehicles, right? We can get into all the different things like emission tests, down to fossil fuels, or how it makes the environment better, but most importantly, we worry about our pockets. That's the main thing we're talking about, especially with high inflation and things like that. The benefits to individual, cost savings, again, quieter, smoother ride. For those who actually ridden the vehicle, it's quiet. You don't hear it. And then when you're driving, you kind of feel like, am I really driving the car? What's going on? So it's kind of a weird experience once you get into it, but once you get used to it, it's very inviting and also soothing. So electric vehicles are they're kind of expensive in the beginning of 2022, but by this year, it has fallen by 40% based on Goldman Sachs' actual research. And as by 2030, a lot of cars are going to be cheaper. So right now, Tesla, a lot of different manufacturers are probably pricing about 60 or 70 grand. By 2030, that will actually be affordable to the community of an average American, probably about $25,000, $30,000 towards a vehicle. And the reason why, because the battery prices are going to be falling. If you guys are not familiar with different manufacturers like Goshen, they actually built their huge facility in Matino, Illinois. They're a battery supplier, and I believe there's a battery supplier up there, I forgot the name, but they provide the batteries for Amazon trucks and things like that. I forgot that battery supplier, but Goshen's one of the biggest one. But technology is constantly advancing, right? When that price battery gets more efficient, that price is gonna drive down. Demand increases as prices decline, of course, supply and demand, right? So based on this actual statistics and data, as you look at it, right now we're at 2025, it's 17% what people actually be purchasing EVs. By 2040, they're expecting 86% of the community actually having electric cars in their communities. So they're gonna start transitioning out of gas to electric very soon, over the next 15 years. Sure. Bear is kind of like the bear market, as far as stock market, what they're looking at, yeah, the bubble. Again, forecast up to 50%. This is global. The Europeans are pretty much more progressive in this way as far as electric vehicles and pushing forward. U.S. is right behind them, and of course, China is 66%. But if you look at the actual timeline from 2020 to 2040, you can kind of see where we're going to be at, 85%, and of course, Europeans 100%. Now, this is an interesting statistics. When I'm having EV conversations, there was a mandate put out during the Biden administration in California to mandate all gasoline cars to go to electric, right? And of course, a lot of manufacturers started predicting their forecasts on this. But as the new administration came in, there was a lot of press going out talking about manufacturers was actually putting a pause on EVs. That's not actually true. They still see the forecast as pushing forward. As you can see, Tesla's already at 100%. Volvo will be 100% electric vehicles by 2030. Ford will be 100% by 2035. So these manufacturers are actually going to be converting all their gasoline cars. Either it might just be hybrid or electric, but it won't be fully gasoline. There'll be a hybrid or an EV. So, of course, consumers will be buying electric vehicles. And as you can see, we got down here Kia, which is a very cost-efficient car. By 2030, they're looking at 100%. Honda. Automakers' financial investments, what they're investing in. Of course, Volkswagen is kind of like the top tier next to Tesla. You got Hyundai, and these are in the billions. So they're constantly investing money year in year into electric vehicles. They're not slowing down. They might have to slow down production, but they haven't slowed down their vision of what they're trying to reach the market. Any questions on this? Sure.
So, if that's the case, and that's the trend is happening, what happens to the motor fuel tax that we collect from gas?
So that's an interesting conversation. So my mentor, Stephen Hightower, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's actually a wholesaler of petroleum gas. He's the only minority in North America and the world. He's been having conversations with BP and all them, and I don't have the details to that, but I do understand what he was saying as far as that they had now seen the future that they have to invest in electric vehicles. So they're not, I guess from the market standpoint, it will still be there from overseas, but the market is electric vehicles. Of course, lithium is being produced in different places like the Congo and all different places. So when they start looking at the materials and all that type of stuff, and also different political things, they're moving in that direction. Uh-huh. I really can't speak on that specifically, so I don't know that market as far as the petroleum gas. So I'll get that. I'll actually ask Mr. Hightower about that and get you back with that information, because he's actually he sits on the board of BP and all them, so he'll know specifically what the fuel tanks and all that stuff. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You got no question?
Yeah. With the current ideas of installing 2 or 6 stations in Broadview,
Mm-hmm.
to that fee. Is Broadview collecting any taxes, or will be collecting any taxes on those upcoming charging stations?
I think that's a question for the mayor.
We'll get back to you on that.
Sounds like a yes.
Go ahead. Pass the mic to the
I have more of a question about the battery. So my understanding is that they use the lithium batteries. What's the longevity or life of the lithium batteries? Because I'm thinking, like, we talk about energy efficiency and then disposing of those, you have to dispose those things in a certain way. So, like, what is the longevity or lifespan of the batteries for the most part that you know?
So
of?
that depends on the manufacturer, right? So Goshen's battery has a lifespan about 20 years, but it's also safer as well from combustion standpoint. So penetration or saying accidents, things like that. So it depends on the manufacturer when you're actually discussing or what's in your car. I think when you actually go to kind of talk more about the battery and also the safetyness on that and the lifespan of that. So it depends on that type of thing, how they make it. We are here now, early adopters, and it's growing very fast. So we are in the very beginning of infrastructure. That's why the conversation needs to be had like we're having here today, and also the progress, but also the conversation with people purchasing electric vehicles so they won't be afraid to make that purchase in advance, because of course, it's not a cheap purchase until prices actually go down, and then being more educated about new technology. Facts to consider. We already talked about this: rapid growing EV adoption, strong government mandates. I truly believe we're always going to see mandates push out and bills push out. So there's going to be an up and down conversation, roller coaster conversation, doors, because of lobbying and all those type of things. So I don't see that going away. Massive government and private sectors investing. The private sector is investing very heavily into EV charger stations. They're looking to do partnerships with small businesses, revenue share. They're looking at nursing homes, things like that. We do a lot of work down south in a lot of nursing homes, facilities, and things like that. The future of mobility is electric. Of course, you guys are already familiar since you've been through the training. It does clean air. Some of my examples is when we had the COVID, everybody stopped driving. And then people said the ozone layer started fixing itself. And pollution, especially in China, the pollution cleared up. So we're not having EV charging stations. We'll definitely have clean air and things like that. Energy independency savings, reducing resilient fossil fuels, promoting renewable energy, use of cost and saving for EV owners. And then also, there's an opportunity to increase innovation hubs. I was just talking to Winston about workforce development, right? As kids are starting to learn technology because they grow up in this technology field, it's also going to give them an opportunity to be innovative and create new solutions, but also software systems for EV cars, okay? We know that ChatGPT, Tesla, and all these things, it is the future. It gives opportunity for them to actually create different businesses in these type of scenarios. I believe I was talking to one guy. He had a car that can now. And any police officers in here? Okay. So he had a car that can drive around, and now ChatGPT can be clocking the car. You know what I'm saying? A self-driving car. It can be clocking people from speeding from like 15 miles away. So they didn't actually need police officers anymore. 15 miles away. Yes. Because of the cameras and also the AI technology, it was actually picking up different sensors and things like that. I'm sorry. I said 15 miles away. I'm thinking more like 3.5 miles away. I'm sorry. Yeah. But also, if you look at the cameras that's actually being put up, you know what I'm saying? AI is going to be tapping into different cameras and also the police force and things like that. So they'll be able to pick up the different range of people speeding, but the car will be self-driving and telling the dispatcher that these people are speeding in this type of area. The car will be telling the dispatcher? Yes, through ChatGPT. AI, yes. My car will be telling? No. There'll be self-driving cars. Right. That's on. Squad cars. That's just riding around. Not your car. There'll be squad cars riding around telling AI. AI would tell the squad cars or self-driving? Self-driving cars. Yes. So when we talk about EV, all that's electric. So now you have more opportunity to incorporate different type of electric, you know what I'm saying, technologies into those cars. So theoretically, you could have a Waymo cop car. Correct. Yeah. So you guys are already familiar with the infrastructure EV, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. You guys already know what a level 1 is, the level 2 and level 3. You already know the roles of EV charging stations as well. Our solutions is actually provided by Hypercharge. Hypercharge is based out of Canada, but we actually manufacture here in the U.S., okay? No shots and no shade to any other different manufacturers, but we are open source. And the reason why we are open source, we can actually integrate our software into any prepaid payment plans. We can customize the software. We have a lot of data to help you track what you're charging, to help the consumers know, especially from the city standpoint, hey, they might be spending about $2 or $3 at this charging stations, more charging outputs coming from that charging station, and help kind of navigate what's better, more efficiency. Also, we have a 24/7 support tech system as well if anything goes down. 'Cause that's one of the major problems with EV charging stations. They go down and nobody's going out to support them and put them back up. We have a situation in Atlanta, I'm not going to say the county, but they have 14 charging stations. It was put in by Siemens, and they didn't activate them. So they had it for 2 years, and they're not activating. So when it now coming to these situations all the time, so a lot of stuff gets put in place. 6 months in, it goes down. It's hard to get a technician to go out there, but also the software becomes non-compatible if you continue to expand. So my suggestion with any other future purchases, make sure if it's not us, make sure it's open software so you can continue to expand to different other software programs and not just be, let's say, just don't buy Apple, because you know Apple's not fun to work with others. Get a PC if you're going to expand broadly. Go ahead.
How do you all compare to ChargePoint?
So the technology from the EV standpoints, they're all the same. I'll be honest with you. It's really the software that comes behind it, and also, you know what I'm saying, the implications of tracking different things in the data, being open source. Because a lot of people have different systems from like how they pay their water bills, you know, those type of things. We can easily integrate, so it's more user friendly. You ain't got a bunch of apps on your phone or your computer, and the customer's frustrated, like, I gotta do this and this and this and that. So try to make it more seamless. Again, benefits to the community. You guys all understand this: clean air, improved public health, economic development, job creation. Job creation is going to be huge. We were just talking about workforce development again. And as you continue to push out EV charging stations, what I'm doing with, it'll be a huge announcement coming soon, the next 3 months. There's a huge project going on here in Chicago. We're actually creating an ecosystem around workforce development program for high school kids and CPS. I want to get in and start teaching them how to be electricians, because these are where the jobs are going to be in, going out and supporting these different charger stations. And if they're not exposed to that, they don't know what's out there. So that's my presentation. You can scan the QR code, connect to me to LinkedIn. Any Q&A questions, I can go back to any slides. Just let me know, and then we can have further discussions. Thank you.
Talk about the youth and when you speak about the youth and getting them engaged at the high school, why not get them engaged at 8th grade? Because those are the kids that's transitioning to high school, and then it gives them options on like what courses they should take as a 9th grader, a sophomore, so it's projecting them a thought process when they get ready for high school, so it's not so overwhelming, but we can coach them through the path starting in 8th grade.
That's a great point. And so the reason why we chose high school, because they're a little bit more far advanced on what career they want to take. But also, what we're trying to tackle as well is help kids understand that there's a lot of math that goes into this as well, you know, and the math numbers are super low as far as efficiency. I'm an investor in other different tech companies that we're trying to implement, help get to that certain point. So I think overall we're working at different levels, but I'm definitely open to talking to 8th graders if there's some schools who are very interested. It's been a lot of high schools that saying, hey, we want to get you in right now. There's some juniors, there's some seniors. They're not looking to go to college. How can we talk about different trades and different things, the opportunities? So I've been kind of just doing just free speaking engagements and going to the classroom and just putting it out there. So I'm happy to come out to any school and talk about it.
So we would love to have you come speak to our Broadview Young Scholars, the 8th grader transitioning to high school, and we track them from 8th grade all the way through high school to college.
Nice.
And a lot of them are in dual math programs, so they'll go from 8th grade to the high school for additional math curriculum. And they are actually talking about, you know, technology. So they are very versed in their conversation. And when we don't bring them to the table at that age, like 13, 14-year-olds, and then we wait till they get to juniors and seniors in high school, we've missed a whole couple of years where we can tap into something where they can be entrepreneurs
Makes
doing
sense.
IT and those types of things. And even with our Broadview Energy Plan, we've brought them to the table to have conversations, and they bring a lot of great conversation to that space. So I would just like to see more companies engage in middle school students and not eliminate them for them to wait till they get to high school, because they already know a career path because of technology in AI.
And I'm definitely open to it. I think some of the issues, I guess the red line, from working with CPS, I work predominantly with CPS, a lot of principals are not innovative. So you run into a lot of those walls. So when people are open, I'm totally open having that conversation. But they don't see the vision, and they give a lot of pushback. And they also, I mean, we can get to that whole conversation about the school system, but I run into a lot of those red line takes. So if there's opportunities, I have no problem having a conversation, exposing opportunities.
Well, we would connect you with my team on what that looked like for Broadview. I can't speak what takes place in other communities in the education system, but in Broadview, we are very engaged with our young scholars, bringing them to the table to have these conversations. But because we're the professionals and we're the experts in our respective fields, it doesn't eliminate or negate from the fact that these young scholars have a thought process, they involve, they engage, and they bring us ideas. So thank you.
Thank you.
And just to piggyback on what the mayor said as I was listening to the conversation, and thank you for the presentation, by the way, it was great, is that the formative years are the K through 8. And who says that they don't know, our youth doesn't know calculus, geometry, when they don't know what they don't know? They don't necessarily have to have a career path, but if they're good in math, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, oh, okay, so this is easy when we get to high school. Now they can choose a career path. I mean, because we're, as I look in this room, we're different generations, but none of us are really younger than 20. And so I'm just saying, I got a cell phone when I was able to afford one. My daughter had one at 10 years of age. So 5 years from now, you know what I mean?
These kids are very smart. They're
Right.
building computers in their room. They ordering parts
Exactly.
off Amazon. They doing all that type of stuff. I think that the school system, certain school systems haven't caught up.
I
And
got
they're
it.
still doing things very traditional and old. So it's very hard to get them to move a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And then a lot of teachers don't have the tech savvy and also the innovative, because they have a lot of things they handle. So sometimes it's hard. So that's why we got to bring in outside people and help donate their time, exposure, help try to create some programs, and also hold certain companies accountable to kind of donate to those different after-school programs. So some of the things I do with my manufacturers, I make sure that if we partner with them, what we're going to do for the community. Here's my vision, because I do care about my community. This is my community as far as African Americans, people where I live at, and I want to make sure that we're not left behind as far as this technology. Again, I'm going to Germany because we also specialize in robotics, in humanoid robotics. I'm the actual exclusive agreement for North America for humanoid robotics. So my goal is there to help create different technicians and also cybersecurity when we roll those out, because by 2045, there's going to be 2 robots to each household. So there's going to be maintenance works and things like, 2025, 2045, 45.
I'll be 100. It won't make a difference.
So, and a lot of people have pushback on those, but trust me,
I'll be 100.
once you get used to them after 30 days, you're gonna love them. Because they're gonna do amazing things that you don't want to do anymore, and it's gonna be amazing. So I know Terminators in the back of people's minds, but that's 200 years from now, okay? But my goal is to continue to expose these opportunities, because again, they're in Silicon Valley, they're in different areas. It's not in our community till last minute. So if I have the opportunity to do that, I'm gonna take advantage of that. So go ahead. And I make sure the manufacturers understand that's my goal if they want to work with me and help it continue to push, increase profits for them. So.
Getting back to those charging stations, just like gas stations, like from here to my house, let's say I drove past 2 gas stations, maybe three gas stations. by 2030, 2035, are EV stations, charging stations, going to be almost as prevalent as gas stations?
We have solutions to convert the gas stations into EVs. So we can take the canopy and make it all solar, where now you don't even have to tap into the grid. But there's also political issues with that because sometimes the utility companies don't want to approve it because you're taking money out their pockets. Because if you do off-grid solutions, you're not tapping into the grid where they make money. So there are solutions. Again, the European side in Canada and different places that we work in, they're far more progressive in those situations. We're trying to bring that to America. So we can convert a lot of the gas stations into EVs.
Using solar
So
to
canopies.
make
So you create a canopy, you know what I'm saying, just put the solar up there, but you have an off storage battery power, different battery powers that collect so much energy, and you can time it out so it don't be overused. Yeah.
Okay, and there's some pushback by the electric companies because they're
100%.
missing out on those dollars.
100%,
Okay.
because you're not tapping into the grid no more.
And I do know like BP is already involved in charging stations. So they're trying to get in the front of this or adoption of this. But what year are you thinking that it'll be as prevalent as gas stations? 35, 30, 45,
2050.
2050?
2050.
Gotcha.
You will have you'll have more private sectors putting in level threes, and park districts like municipalities putting in level threes because those are good areas and things like that. But the gas stations, not, because they'll be fighting back. But park districts, movie theaters, malls, level threes, you can put level threes, they can charge like 15 minutes, and those will be more dominant, you know. Any more? Thank you again, and let me know how I can work with the youth or any one of you guys about more EV, and let's work together and build this infrastructure.
Yeah, thank you so much. So much great information. We're grateful for your presence and your presentation today. As you can see, there is a lot of technicality to this whole process, from the actual technical and contractor experts to us as consumers and practitioners needing to use and navigate this technology. So to the last points on workforce development, let's be very conscious and intentional in setting up the next generation for all of this, because we have data analytics that we'll need to monitor. We'll have specific math technicians and folks that'll work with spreadsheets, analyzing the utilization and implementation of the technology for the best. And also just ensuring that when we incorporate this, we're doing it in a sustainable way so that it continues and grows beyond just us, because it's not about us, it's about the next generations. If they don't have all the skills, knowledge, and tools that we have right now in this room, we didn't do our job in setting them up for this transition, but also preparing the infrastructure for all the other technology that will need to be coupled with it as well. Energy efficiency, solar, even when we look at drones and AI, like Joshua said, all of these are fields that will need to be intelligent about, knowledgeable about, to implement it in a truly meaningful way. So we'll make this presentation available, so you can get the deck. I'm always good about sharing resources, some similar charts to what Joshua presented, but I may have to ask him for access to his because they may be a little bit more updated. But without belaboring the point of us just needing to be more effective and intentional in our strategic planning, I will go ahead and turn it over to Luke Burrows so he can just share some insight from the Walker Miller Energy Services team, but also shed light on the incentives and rebates available through the ComEd Beneficial Electrification Plan. It's not enough for us to just become aware and knowledgeable about the technology itself. We also need to plug in the resources in real time as well. So without further ado, Luke Burrows from the Walker Miller Energy Services team.
I think we got it. First try. Okay, amazing. Thank you, everyone, for having me back. I was here in January, and I see a lot of the same faces, so thank you all for coming out on a Saturday afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Thompson, for having me again, and thank you, Josh and Winton, for, setting the stage and kind of the groundworks for EV. I think we're all kind of raised our level of understanding to what EV looks like now and what it will look like in the next year. I'm going to talk about the same thing I talked about in January, but there are some announcements. Mostly good, one kind of bad one, but the others will kind of flesh each other out once we get to them in the presentation. First, a little background on what I will be talking about. In 2020, Governor Pritzker enacted the CEJA legislation, which amended the Electric Vehicles Act. The goal in Illinois, I know Josh said 2050 is when we're going to see those EV chargers at gas stations. The goal in Illinois is 2030, to have 1 million EVs on the road and to have sufficient charging to charge those 1 million vehicles by 2030. And we're seeing that happen in a number of ways. Yes, the public sector is doing their part. Yes, the private sector. The federal government, I don't know. They're kind of doing their own thing right now. But ComEd has, I won't get into that mess, but that is in flux, to say the least. But ComEd, as the largest investor-owned utility in Illinois, was mandated by the CEJA legislation to put into practice a beneficial electrification plan. Plan 1 was last year from 2024 to the end of this year, 2025. Plan 2 will come back. We just announced that last month. We'll come back in 2026 through 2028. So that means all of the funding opportunities I will talk about for residential and commercial will be here through 2028. The Plan 2 will look different, and I'll talk a little bit about that, but I don't have any slides in it per se because it's so new. But I do want to talk about that a little bit for future planning, maybe for Matt and the city of our village of Broadview, but also just for anyone interested in installing these things later on in time. Okay, so why should communities electrify? I feel like we heard enough about that. Josh talked a lot about that. They're good for the environment, but also they are a cost-saving initiative. EVs are not just in the 90s and 2000s, prior to that, frankly, the 70s and 80s too, EVs were around. They were just seen as more of a hippy-dippy green energy thing. Now they're a cost-saving thing. Now they're a way of saving money on fuel and on maintenance. And on overall costs for the infrastructure, right, too. It is more costly to build the infrastructure for a new gas station than it is for an EV charging station. So they're really a budget-saving thing as well. The different types of EVs, we're all probably familiar with those. You have your hybrids, your plug-in hybrids, and then you have your fully battery electric vehicles. There's no engine, there's no transmission, there's no gas tank in that thing. It has a lot fewer parts. It is the only vehicle that we cover for our incentives, fully battery electric vehicles, no hybrids or plug-in hybrids. And then just some statistics on the proof. Battery electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids are cheaper per mile when you consider the cost of electricity, a kilowatt hour of electricity versus a gallon of gasoline. They are cheaper per mile across class sizes 1 through school bus. So you can see that they are not just the more environmentally friendly version, but the more economic version of getting around as well. For EV charging options, again, we have levels 1, 2, and 3. Our program incentivizes the installation of levels 2 and 3, no level 1. I see a couple level 1 chargers in the room. That's your basic 3-pronged wall outlet, 120 volts. So we look at levels of 2 and 3. In addition, your chargers must be Energy Star certified, NRTL certified. Those are some pretty industry standard certifications. They're not complete ubiquitous, but someone mentioned ChargePoint earlier. They're NRTL certified. They're Energy Star certified. I mentioned the federal government's kind of limbo right now. I don't know if anyone read the news about this, but Energy Star might not be a thing in like a couple months. The longest standing energy efficiency certification in the world, not just America, but in the world, is now not longer going to be a thing because our federal government said it's not cost effective, which is not true. So to talk a little bit about the program as it stands today on May 31st, we still do have 3 programs, 2 for business and public sector, 1 for residential. The residential program incentivizes the purchase, installation, and all of the make-ready work necessary to install a level 2 charger at home. And the public and business sector programs cover the purchase of the vehicles themselves, as well as level 2 and level 3 charging for a business or public sector entity. There are 2 pools of funding for all 3 programs. One is for base customers, that is just anyone with a ComEd bill. And then LIEIEC customers, that is low income or equity investment eligible community. There are 2 ways to be eligible. One is to, for residential customers, prove that you are low income. According to the state of Illinois, you have to have 80% of median household income in Illinois to be eligible. And then the other eligibility requirement is equity investment eligible community. This is a map. This is just you live here or you don't. It's based off premise address. It is not based on municipality or zip code. So I've seen it where people on one side of the street are eligible for the EIAC amount, and on the other side of the street they are not. The reason it's important is because it's 2 pools of funding. They're kept very separate. Once one runs out, the other can still exist. And 2, it is 50% more money. So I leaned into the mic for that, more money. So like utilities, or the ComEd is trying to say, hey, we are putting more money into these areas that have historically been disinvested from in terms of clean energy investments. That's what the map tries to do. I will admit it's not perfect because it's so checkerboarded, but it is trying to put more money into those historically disinvested communities. And just to clarify, you only need to meet one of these requirements to be eligible for the higher rebate amount. So on the residential side, I updated this slide this morning because on June 2nd, on Monday, in 2 days, the rebate amount for base residential customers goes up. It was $1,000. It technically still is $1,000 today, but I changed the slide because on Monday it's going to go up to $2,000. So that's just $1,000 more for anyone with a ComEd bill, any residential ComEd customer who wants to install a level 2 charger at home. They can get at least $2,000. If they live within the LI or EIC area, or if they are income eligible, they would be eligible for $3,750. So this rebate, as I mentioned, covers the cost of the charger, the cost of installation, and then any make-ready upgrades you need to do to your house. You need a new panel, you need a new conduit, whatever. That's probably the most. I see, shaking your head. That is the more expensive part than the charger. Level 2 residential chargers can start as low as $450, and they can get up to a couple thousand. But the costly part is getting that new panel, right? That can be the tricky part. So this rebate covers all of that, up to $2,000 for base, $3,750 for LI EIC. A lot of text on the screen. The important point is that bottom bullet. If you want to be eligible for the residential rebate, you must change your residential rate to an hourly rate. That means the price of a kilowatt hour right now in ComEd territory is around 12.5 cents. It will fluctuate throughout the day depending on the market demand for electricity. So in the middle of the day when everyone's using electricity like right now, the price of your electricity will go up. And at night when no one's using, or very few people are using electricity, the price goes down. What that means for EV drivers is that when are you typically charging? At night, right? So the data has shown that 96%, I think it's 95, 96% of residential customers who switch to the hourly rate do see an annual decrease on their bill. So I can't guarantee you're going to save money or spend more money on your bill, but the data shows that EV drivers save 95% of the time on their overall energy bill. Reason being because they're paying for less electricity at night, and like I showed earlier, electricity is cheaper than gasoline. Fact. Okay, next program I will talk about is the actual electric vehicle rebate. We covers class 1 through 8 as well as transit and school buses. I need to update this slide because as of this week, again, a lot of things happening this week, we are out of medium duty funding. So there's this thing called a Hummer, a EV Hummer. They have an electric one. It is, if anyone knows, it is 10,010 GSWR. That puts it as a class 3 vehicle. That means it is technically medium duty, and even though it's just over the minimum GSWR needed for a class 3, it has a $20,000 rebate up to $30,000 versus light duty is $5,007.5. You see? So everyone was saying, oh, I can get this fancy Hummer, brand new electric vehicle, and get $20,000 off. So everyone did that in April, May, and we are now out of medium duty funding because of that. We still have plenty of light duty, heavy duty, transit bus, and school bus funding. I'm working with CPS right now and First Student to get a bunch of electric school buses for CPS. So you'll see those driving around the city as well as a few school districts around Chicagoland. So very exciting. Electric school buses are a thing, and now there's funding for it on the utility level. Yes, sir.
This here, is this state or ComEd?
So this is all, that's a great question, and I didn't mention that at the beginning. ComEd's program, as a investor-owned utility, is 100% ratepayer funded. There is no state, federal, municipal, county, public funds in our program. It is all coming from a line item in every single ComEd bill that says beneficial electrification. It's a small percentage. For most of you, you're probably paying pennies per bill for that, but those pennies add up to millions of dollars. And we put that into a big pool that we then distribute through the residential and business public sector programs. So even if, and when I should say, federal funding gets cut, this will be around. This is not endangered by any decisions at the federal level or state level.
So that base rebate. I'm sorry. So that base rebate, especially on that MDV, is coming from the state or from ComEd?
All of this is ComEd. This is all from a line item on your utility bill that's a couple cents per bill usually that you pay towards ComEd. They take that money and they put it back into this program. We receive zero funds from the state.
So when I buy the Hummer, I'm getting the $20,000.
Well, not anymore because we're out of that funding.
Next question.
Next year.
Next question. 2026, 2028. You said they're going to
Yeah.
reestablish
Yep.
that.
We'll come back. Yep.
I'll wait then. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. No. If you want to buy that Hummer and get that $20K, wait till next year because there's no more funding for this year. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but 2026, the rebate amounts will be lower. No, they are going down across the board. The only class size that is staying the same is school bus funding because we love electric school buses. No, that's not the reason why, but that is the fact. They are staying the same. Every other class size will go down. I don't have the exact amounts on this screen because it is public information, but ComEd has not yet published it yet. Only the Illinois Commerce Commission has released it publicly. So you can look it up online, but the medium duty funding will go down as well. So that Hummer, instead of being $60,000, was $40 or $30 if you're a LIEC customer. Next year it'll probably, I don't know exactly how much, but it'll be a little more expensive still. Maybe the price of the Hummer will go. Maybe they'll drop their price at the manufacturer level. Who knows? Is it really? Dang. Okay. Well, our rebate can still help next year. How you apply for this program is there's two options. One, normal post-purchase rebate option. You buy the vehicle, you get it delivered to your business, you get it registered in Illinois, and then once it's registered, you have 90 days to apply for a rebate. Again, it has to be registered to the business. This can't be for personal use, and we cover leased vehicles at a minimum of 3 years leased. So sometimes the math works out like if you just want to dip your toe into the EV world and try out a Ford Lightning for 3 years, you could lease one of those for a couple $100 a month, and after our $5,000 rebate, that's looking like almost a free 3-year lease for you. I didn't do the math, but we have done that for other vehicles and shown that to dealerships that they can essentially sell a free car if they work it out right with the customer. That's the post-purchase rebate option. We have another point of sale option, that third bullet point. This is where you get the rebate at the point of sale. So you work with one of the dealerships within our network. They're all over Chicago. They're all over the suburbs. Or you go to one of our manufacturers directly. You can purchase a vehicle from them. They'll send a voucher to us to get approved to reserve that money, and then they'll go back to you with your purchase order, and they'll take off $7,500, $20,000, whatever your rebate is. Then you pay that less on your actual purchase. Once the vehicle is delivered and registered to you, then the dealership is responsible for going back and recouping that X amount of dollars themselves. So it's just another way to save at the point of sale, and I think for public sector that is oftentimes the most beneficial for tax reasons I've heard, but you can go either way. I recommend it because it is faster to get the money. And the last program is far and away the most confusing. It is our Make Ready business and public sector program. So before I talk about the rebate amounts, I like to first cover what is Make Ready infrastructure. It is anything that prepares the site for an EV charger installation. When you install that EV charger box in the ground, it requires obviously a greater pull on ComEd's grid. This can mean capacity upgrades from a new transformer, a new switchgear, at the very least conduit and panel, right? A new service line. All of these things are make-ready costs. Other make-ready costs not listed on this screen can include permitting, design costs, obviously labor, concrete, trenching. Anything from the transformer to the stub, you can see highlighted in green here, is eligible for make-ready costs, but there are other costs associated with it that are not material as well. So the things that we do not cover are from the charging station onward. So the actual, I think Josh uses hypercharge, the actual hypercharge station, the hoses that come out of it, the ports, and then like networking, bollards, lighting, the cost of installing it. It's kind of an arbitrary cost up to the manufacturer or installer, and we don't cover that stuff. But we cover everything else from the transformer to the stub, as well as the non-material costs needed to make ready the site for EV charging. Okay, so going back to the actual rebate amounts, again, we have base funding, or it says general here, as well as LIEIC. That left column that says general funding, base funding, ended today at 12:01 a.m. So we are out of base funding for Make Ready. That is to say there is still LIEIC funding left. So let's look at the right side of the screen. It's about, it's 10 million each pool, I should say, 10 million for general and 10 million for LIEIC. So that's $8,000 per port, not per station, but per port, and then $1,000 per kW for DC fast charging or level 3. In order to be eligible for that DC FC amount, it's in there in very tiny print, but your fast charger must have a minimum of 50 kW. That's kind of the industry standard for quote-unquote fast charging. There's also ultra fast charging that starts at 150 kW, but we don't incentivize extra for ultra fast charging. It's just 50 kW and upwards will give you $1,000 per kW, up to $500,000. That's per project. So Matt, you got those 2 projects going on. One's level 2, I think, but you can get the max rebate per site based on, yep. Any questions on the rebate amount or what is Make Ready? Okay, excellent. And then how you apply is twofold. You can apply yourself, pay for everything outright, do the work yourself, get it installed by an ICC EV charging station installer. That's Illinois Commerce Commission mandated thing. This is not a ComEd thing. This is the Illinois thing. Anyone receiving funds for EV charging in Illinois has to have an ICC certification. And then once everything's installed and energized and paid for, ready to use, you have 90 days to apply for a rebate. The other option is very similar to the EV point of sale rebate, and that is to work with one of our installers. We call them EV service providers. They have the option of handing you that discount at the point of sale, of carrying that rebate for you, essentially. So if you work with one of them, they are able to apply for the rebate, reserve it themselves, and then you guys both sign a form that says, okay, my installer, my vendor is going to get the money instead. They give you a line item on their invoice to you, minus 100 grand, whatever it might be, ComEd Make Ready rebate. It's just an option that they have. Your typical ICC installer will not have this. They have to be in ComEd's network. I think we have about 100 of them now. And then you can reserve the funds up to, oh, and one bullet point I always skip in here, but I don't know why, is that third bullet point for multifamily. That's kind of a case-by-case basis, but if there's any property owners or landowners in the landlords in the room, multifamily homes oftentimes have a commercial account. They have a commercial rate for their common area or parking lot or like maintenance shed. So that account is eligible for a make-ready rebate. It's not the residential rebate. The individual units, if they have their own ComEd residential bill, they might be eligible for a residential rebate. But multifamily homes are kind of like a unique situation where based on where they are, what kind of bill they pay, and how many homes are in them, we can get them a much higher rebate with the Make Ready program. So if you know anyone who owns a multifamily unit, please have them reach out to me. And then as that last bullet point says, you can reserve the funds up to 6 months in advance. We're kind of getting right up to June, so 6 months would be the end of the year. So basically, if you're going to be done in 6 months, you should have that reservation in today. That's why we paused put a pause on the base funding, because we are out of that now. All the reservations have gobbled that up. A couple other resources that ComEd has on their website, and I can direct you to as well. There's some flyers in the back. are the residential and commercial EV toolkits. They have fun things like fuel savings calculator where you can compare ICE vehicles to electric, see the fuel savings over 5, 10, 15 years of driving that vehicle. A charge time estimator, when it would be best for you to charge that vehicle on ComEd's grid to get the best rate offering. They also have, I learned this kind of recently, ComEd's the only utility, investor-owned utility in America that has a publicly available capacity load map. That's a map of ComEd's territory that shows you here's what the capacity in KW is for each address. So you can search an address and say, okay, I have 600 kW here, peak demand, I can install X amount of EV level 2 chargers. That's something that you can do on the toolkit. There's also a link to other incentives, right? ComEd's incentive is just the utility one, but as I mentioned, the state has one. The IRS has a tax credit. That's not going anywhere. That's still federally there. And then some other incentives at the federal and state levels. Anything else I'm missing in the calculator? I don't think so. And then the last tool I want to publish is, I think Broadview has already done this, is our fleet electrification assessment. This is a free offering to anyone with a commercial ComEd bill. If you own one or more vehicles, one or more ICE vehicles, internal combustion engine vehicles, you can have a ComEd engineer come out and do a free analysis of converting that ICE vehicle or vehicles to electric. They'll do a cost and environmental analysis to show you, what that would cost you over the next service cycle of that vehicle, whether it's 1, 10, 15 years, as well as give you a charging solution for charging that vehicle/vehicles because you're going to need a way to charge it. So it's a very helpful tool, and like I said, free, just to kind of get a better understanding and free data for planning out these kind of technical and complex charging plans. If you have charging plans, and Matt can attest to this, the sooner that you guys get in touch with the utility, typically the better. They are going to be, your best and worst friend for planning these things. So whether you are a ComEd customer or Ameren or anywhere else in the country, talk to your utility today and do a fleet assessment. As I mentioned, there are additional rebates outside of the ComEd one that the Illinois EPA has a couple now. They just announced 2. I can't speak to them. I don't work for the EPA, but check those out. And as I mentioned, there is still a federal tax credit. So we have our EV service provider network. I think I spoke to some people last time who want to join the network. We are still growing that. The only requirement, like I mentioned, is that you have that ICC EV charging certification. And then our dealership network, if you know any dealerships in Broadview or elsewhere that are looking to join our network, that's free as well. They have to sign some papers and attend a 35-minute training. Pretty easy for them, and they get to offer rebates at the point of sale at their dealership. Thank you so much. Any questions? Okay, yes.
The list of ComEd ICC vendors available online?
Totally available online. I think it's on the back of the flyer. It's just comed.com/EV, I think. But you'll have to click on a couple links to get you to that. EV Service Providers is the name you're looking for. So look for that link on ComEd's EV website.
Second question. Did Broadview, do they do the fleet analysis
I
through
think y'all
ComEd?
did. I want to say, as part of the MMC's thing, because you get points for that, I know. Does Mayor Thompson, she's not here anymore. If you didn't do a fleet assessment yet, we could still do one. There's still time. Have you met Raul? He's the guy that leads that? No? No. Not ringing any bells? Okay, then maybe not. I don't know.
Who do I call about that?
You can call me. I'll give you my card.
Is that you right there?
No, that's a bunch of people. Just go ahead. I'm more direct.
Any other questions?
Great. Thank you all so much. Happy Saturday.
Thank you, Lou.
After you.
Another great presentation from Luke Burrows with Walker Miller Energy Services. definitely appreciate you always coming out and shedding light on the current and different changes that have happened to our EV resources. At this point, one, I want to recognize a local ICC certified electric vehicle charging station, clean energy consultant within Demetrius Wyndham. I know you all have that local EV charging station company. So at this point, I just want to open the floor up to any questions, whether they were in reference to Joshua's presentation, what Luke has to say, or for our local expert in the room today within Demetrius Wyndham.
Question. Yep. To install and upgrade your panel in a residential home with 65 feet of travel for the wiring and the grounding and everything, what's the approximate pricing?
It's not an approximate price, but it ranges anywhere between $3,500 and $4,000, depending on what you upgraded it to. So currently, what is it?
100.
It's 100 amp. So you probably need to take it to what you trying to put in there, level 2.
Level 2.
So you need to take it to a 200 amp because of that level 2 need to be on a 100 independently, right? Yeah.
65, 85, whatever. Yeah.
Well, we always say put it on 100. You can go to a 65, we say 100. So it just depends on how close the meter is to the box, then how close the box is to the garage. So that's why I said it can vary. I don't want to say it's $1,000 and then come out there and see it and say, oh no man, it's gonna be $3,000. You can be like, no, you said so.
Yeah, I've gotten quotes from about 3,500 up to 6,000.
Right.
I'm not going 6,000.
No, I don't blame you.
Any other questions? Any additional thoughts, Demetrius?
So I understand you from Winchester, right? Westchester, right? And you was asking about the gas station conversions, and just like the other guy said, the gas station is going to be a while, but it's like monetizing parking lots where people are going to be at for a while. Restaurants, municipalities, malls, movie theaters, and stuff like that. Those are the places where we're trying to get that infrastructure put in place right now. You know, it's a shortage. It's a shortage. So we get out there and we go in, we advertise to them and solicit to them and let them know, hey, these are different ways that you can monetize your parking lot. A lot of people wonder what you're talking about when you say that. Put EV chargers on there. You make money right there. It's making money in your sleep. That's a new vending machine. And then there's several different ways of making money off of them. Our EV chargers, we have the displays on there. So now you can make money off of marketing. And then also at the end of the year, there's credits that you can get. So there's 3 different ways of making money off of those EV charging stations.
Now, with that in mind, what is the future when it comes to taxing these this opportunity in
That
the
is
future?
above my head. I can't speak on that right now. You know, that when I heard you asking about that earlier, that's something that I'll go back and do some research on. So the next time somebody do ask me, I can at least steer them in the direction and let them know.
Yeah. Municipalities, they're really big on that because that motor fuel tax, if the future, which is 2045, 2050, that motor fuel tax isn't going to be enough to fund all of the things that it does now. And so I know Illinois and other states are going to be looking to recoup somewhere some dollars. And right now, I don't know of any specific tax for EV charging. So no one's saying anything, but I'm looking for that to happen.
So what I would say is you're making so much money off of the charging itself and then the advertising and then the comp credits that you get at the end, that probably just leverage that tax out.
Yeah. And the government knows,
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. You know, they want theirs.
Yeah, and what I continue to uplift is that it'll be a collective effort. Like, yeah, the local, the local government is doing, especially Broadview, doing as much as they can to forge forward. But it's also the public sector. It's also the private sector. It's us at the residential level. It's going to take a united front to power this transition.
I got one more question, y'all. All right. Broadview is spending $350,000 to $400,000 for these locations. Based on the rebates that I heard like $8,000. I heard a few other little chump change. So Broadview's spending $350,000 to $400,000. They're getting, let's say, $10,000 back in rebates. They're going to be making their money back. How? Or they're not planning on making it back? That's just an investment in the community.
It's a long-term capital investment. Yeah, so there is some recoup that they will get in real time, but it's the maintenance, it's the fuel shift. There's a lot of different factors. So are they going to see it in the next, 2 to 3, 2 to 5? Unlikely. What we're trying to do is shift our mindsets to understanding that return on investment is inevitable. We wouldn't be sharing this education about the technology, about the cost savings, if there wasn't proof in the pudding. And that's why we're elevating the tools and resources that ComEd has, elevating, certified contractors, because they can walk you down that path. What we need to continue to emphasize is that it's not just going to be one resource. It's going to be the local, it's going to be the county, it's going to be us advocating for ourselves and our communities at the federal level. Because that, if you ask me, aside from any associations, I'm asking the federal level to step up. But I'm also encouraging our people, our communities at the local and county level to find all those resources and then share those resources for coordinated planning and implementation.
It's a higher rebate than 10K. What's the capacity?
It's to your point, $1,000 per kilowatt.
Per kW.
So, right, so that's, for instance, level 3 will pretty much pay for the installation because of the kilowatts that will be provided and utilized, will pretty much pay for the design for the EV readiness. So for the meter drop, for the conduit to be laid, so forth and so on. So yeah, the only expense that the village will be on the hook for because of the generous rebate will be for the purchase of the equipment themselves. At this point, they don't provide bollards. They don't provide, the charging stations, the cables associated with it. So no, that's, and the other question as it relates to the tax. So we do know that the municipalities have the authority to set the fees, okay, for any charging station. So, and I think Demetrius alluded to the fact that the long-term maintenance is where the fees will be helpful and to offset some of the maintenance costs. So, but yeah.
Thank you. Any other additional questions? We're kind of wrapping up in our Q&A section, but definitely appreciate Demetrius showing up. Property Resource Group, Inc. It's a local certified contractor and installation company. And we were able to get, ensure that their company was in the ComEd EVSP network as well. So that's what it's all about, ensuring that we connect individuals. I don't want to put my friend on the spot, but we also have another individual here who's trying to raise up their own charging station and company as well. Javier, thank you for joining us. Make sure you connect with Luke Burrows from ComEd with the BE plan before you leave. Any additional thoughts or questions before we wrap up here? I'm looking at Mary Thompson. She's ready to get going. For all of our in-person attendees and virtual attendees, please scan the QR code to give us some feedback and also to ensure that you, one, get access to the deck, but also the contact information for Luke, myself, if you're interested in connecting with Demetrius Wyndham and Property Resource Group, Inc., or Joshua Johnson and Space Continuum, LLC. Again, if you all don't have access to these resources, we're not doing our job as we should. So again, thank you very much to the Village of Broadview, Mayor Thompson, the amazing staff and team, Public Works, Fire Department, everybody. And then thank you for the attendees as well. Again, EV adoption is so important, not just for us, but for the next generation. And we need to lead these pathways and drive the innovation of this technology in our communities, especially for Broadview, as well as C4, the Cross Community Climate Collaborative. So that's all I have today. I'll stick around for additional questions or any resources that are needed. Thank you again, and y'all have a blessed day. Oh, let's check the chat. Nope, we're good. Again, if you have additional questions or follow-up questions, you can email me directly, and I'll connect you to the appropriate resources. Thank you all, and be blessed.